Hello. Now we are going to see how to add student details into MongoDB using microservice. Before doing practical session, we need to understand a few points. Point number one, we need to visit start.spring.io because for generating structure of the Spring Boot project or Maven project or microservice project, we need to visit start.spring.io. For generating project, we can do two ways. One is like using IDE, any IDE. It can be Eclipse or it can be STS tool. The best and easy way to generate a project structure or project skeleton, we can visit https start.spring.io website. There you can add dependencies. So that one would be point number two. Add required dependencies. Suppose you want to generate a web project, you can add web dependencies. And for restarting the server, you can write, you can add dev tools. And similarly, you want to add MongoDB. For that, you need to add MongoDB dependencies. And the third point is open STS tool, and whatever you generated the project, you need to import. And fourth one is ensure MongoDB is available in your machine or not. And fifth one is ensure Postman tool in your machine. If you are ensuring these 5 points, then you are going to achieve the target, how to add student details into MongoDB using microservice. Once we are ensured all those 5 points, then once project structure is created, there we need to ensure some of the files, like when we are generating the file application.java, controller.java, and if any object is there, our project is student, then student object we need to ensure. And repository, our repository is going to be MongoDB, so we need to ensure repository file. And in properties file we need to ensure required property, which port number you want to run the project. And MongoDB is under which port it should run. So all those details you need to mention in a dot properties file. And in form.xml, whatever you have added required dependencies, those dependencies we need to verify. So if you are ensuring all these points, it is very easy to generate the project. Now practically we will see. First point is visit https start.spring.io. So I'm going to browser and I'm going to generate start.spring.io. As I said, we can add some dependencies. So for generating project, we need to add first one is Spring Web. So this one is what it is providing. The features are like a build web, including RESTful applications using Spring MVC, use Apache Tomcat. So if you are ensuring this dependency inbuilt, there will be a server, that is Apache Tomcat. So you need to import, you need to add this dependency. Once this is done, then you need to add a dev tools. So using these dev tools, automatically your source code, whatever you are doing modifications, automatically server can recognize and it can restart and it can recompile also. And next one is a MongoDB. You can add MongoDB. So now we need required dependencies are Spring Web, Spring Boot, and Spring Data MongoDB. So these are enough. Now we have to select from here. It is going to be Maven project. So keep it as Maven project. Default it will be there, and Java. And the Spring Boot version is 2.6.3. When I am generating 2.6.3 in future, or when you are practicing based on the latest Spring Boot version, you can select it. Once all are done, you can generate the project, and this project will be available in your demo project. So I don't want a demo project. I want to generate a project. So project is like I want to create a student project. So I am going to create a student project, and com.example will be the package. So student, I am going to generate the student project. So student zip will be available, and go to your downloads, and you can see downloads, and here your project is generated. Then you can extract here, and project will be extracted here. Now this first point is ensured, and you have generated the project, and second point also ensured. Then open STS tool, and you can go and visit STS tool. Then this is my STS tool, and I am importing the project. So you can select from here import as a Maven project. So you can select existing Maven projects. You can generate here, and you can import. So the project is downloaded here, downloads, and I am selecting student. You can select, and form.xml will be coming. And once this project is generated, then it will take some few seconds of time to build and recompile and everything. You can see bottom of the cursor here, it is doing 76 percentage, and it will complete 98 percentage. Within 2 seconds it would be completing. Now here student project is generated, and now it is building 33 percentage. Till this completion you should not disturb the project. If you are disturbing, then project structure may not create properly. So you have to wait a few seconds, then it will set it ready, everything would be ready, then we can do our task. So here student application.java is already created. So this is a default student application.java, and wherever you are creating projects, it will generate like this. Application.java is very mandatory. Then once you are done, then go and verify your steps, and we have created, and ensure DB is available in your machine or not. Yes, I am having MongoDB is available, and here I am going to create already created my student database table name, and cool is package name, means database schema name. So this table already available here. ID, student number, and student address is there. So ID nothing but a name. So name is Peter, student number some 123, student address some Mumbai. So likewise, there are three tables are there, and three records are there, and I am going to create one more record. So here what I am going to do is, and we need to create one controller. So same under same package we need to create one more package. So this root package should not be changed, com.example.student, because we generated from the skeleton. So this package we should not do. On top of this we can add one controller is added. Now you can create a one class file. So plain old Java class file you can add, that is a student controller. Student controller is added. Then it is a plain old Java class only. Until and unless you define REST controller, it will not become as a REST controller. So I am going to add a REST controller, and it will give some error, and you need to import. It will take few seconds of time to recognize, and here you can see import, it would be appearing. Now it is ready, you can import. Now here you need to add request mapping. This is now you are going to this give as a root of the path. So when you are running from localhost 8043 some port number slash, so this is going to be the root path. So you can give any root path. So since our project is a student, I can give hello student or hello. We can give hello student or hello path. And this is a request mapping should recognize. So for that I am going to give as this one, isn't it? So it is generated. Hello is request mapping is recognized. Now this is the controller, and we are going to generate the Java object, student object and repository MongoDB. So for this MongoDB, we need to add some properties for MongoDB as well as the server port. So server port we can add like server port equal to 8043, and this one is server dot port and spring dot data dot mongodb dot database equal to my database schema is cool. So you can verify my database schema is cool. That is the reason I am giving as a cool. Now spring dot data dot mongodb dot host name. Host is a default local host. This one everyone must be knowing. And spring dot data dot mongodb dot port number. So MongoDB default port number is 27017. That's all. This one will recognize. So our project will run under 8043, but MongoDB port number is 27017, and it will connect with the database schema cool. Under that, when we are writing program and when we are trying to access table, it would be accessed. So properties file we have ensured, and controller we have ensured. Now student project. So for that we need to create one object. So go and create one object. So this one is a student dot controller. I will create a repository, and here you are going to create a plain old Java object. So student, you can give student, and the student is a MongoDB. It will always recognize some annotation like a document, and table name is student, my student. Table name is my student. You can see I am going to access my student. That is the reason I am going to give my student. And document is not recognized, it will recognize when we are adding import. And here you are going to add some properties, private string std name, private string std number, student number, private string std address. These three are the properties, and it should act as a student name, act as a id. So this one will be id, and I am going to give as id. Why? Because in our table, in our MongoDB, everything will be recognized as on id basis. So I am mapping student name as the id. So here it is appearing as a id. So that is the reason id also imported. Now I will create getter setters and getters using generate getters and setters, and select all setters and getters generated. Now you can generate one constructor also. If you are not generating constructor, simply object is going to resided in the DB. You will not see the properties values. So for that you need to generate say, constructor also using fields. So this one you need to create, and constructor also generated, and one public constructor also you can create. empty constructor. That one is empty constructor. You can give super keyword. So if it is a small keyword you need to give. Now this is recognized. Now your Java object is perfectly created. Now your object is created. Now repository we need to create. So repository is going to be the interface type. So you have to create a student interface. Student repository. We can say student repository. Now student repository is created. This is an interface. Until and unless you are extending, it will not be treated as an student repository. So extends Mongo repository. So this is the Mongo repository, and here it can be student, and this is string type. Now no errors are appearing. This is the controller is done, student.java done, student repository.java done, and the controller file you need to retrieve the details. Before retrieving, before adding student details, we need to retrieve sample method return type. So I am going to verify public string type hello, and return type is hello microservice. And this one is going to be at the rate request mapping, and some test you are going to do test. So test one request mapping. Now this is done, and MongoDB connection also done. And this one, before testing this one, we just have to start the server and verify whether this port is running or not. So using run as Spring Boot app. And server started. It is under 8043. You can visit the browser and you can check localhost 8043 and HTTP localhost 8043, and we have written root root path is in our project. This is a hello and this is a test, and we have to give hello test, and hello microservices working. That means you are good to go for writing, adding up, adding a record, and that record should be inserted into MongoDB. So since this project is running, we can write at the rate, and for adding record into MongoDB, post mapping we need to select. If it is a retrieval, we need to select a get. If it is a delete, we need to select delete mapping. And if it is update, we need to select a put mapping. So I am selecting this one. And here you can add, since it is add, I can put add, or I can put save, whatever the thing. So since I am going to add record, so I am giving add record. Any name you can give, and public response entity. This is going to hold your MongoDB object details. So this one response entity is needed. And store, and what you are going to store? Student s object, and this one will be request body. Annotation we need to add, and for logs we can put system dot out dot println. Inside store method, when you are running server port number when you are executing, you can verify, and this SOP will be used as a logs. So already server started, I am stopping that server. Next, once project is completed, we can do that. Request body and response entity also we need to import. Response, and it will give some return value. And here we need to generate one project, one object. So that one is like we already created a student repository. That one we need to create as a student repository and std repository. So this object instance we need to create, and it should be auto void, then only it will recognize, otherwise it won't recognize. And student repository we need to import, and this one is auto void also we need to import. Yes, we have to import. Now response entity importing, this is done. Add a return statement, this one will give add. So before that we need to save, so we in which we need to save under repository. So repository under save entity is s, because this is the object instance, object s. And a return we can give like return new response entity, and string type object is inserted. When you are running, once record is successfully inserted, it will give some status. So for that response entity is useful, so we need to give that one only. HTTP status okay. Now you're good to go and execute. So inside store mechanism and add record, and this is a hello. If you want to change student hello record, student add record, you can give student also here, student add record. Now we are having pom.xml is ready, application.properties ready, student repository is ready. So now go and test. Here student path I have changed. So root path you can give student capital S, and student and add record, and port number is 8043. Now you can see, run this. If no issues, it will run smoothly. If any issues are there, it will throw some errors. We'll see. If everything is correct, you'll get the output. If any issues, it won't come. Now server is started under 8043. For testing this, we need to visit Postman, and here we can see 8043 student add record. So this student is we are giving here. This is the main root path, and when we are testing for post map, this is a add record, and accordingly our path should be defined student add record, and I am going to define student name, student number, student address. And if you see in DB, we are having three records: Peter, Peter Jason, and Nag. And now we are going to insert from here. That means adding up of a record into MongoDB. So Peter, student number 999, London, and give send. And here you can see 200. Okay, means successfully record is inserted and object is inserted. This log we have defined at our post mapping method level, and you can see where this has been defined. Object is inserted, and this one is a log system.out.println. That one you can see in logs. You can see inside store, and now you can verify whether record is added or not. Earlier three records. After refreshing, we'll be able to see four records. So Peter 999 London. So accordingly it is defined. Now how many records are there? Four records. Still three records are appearing, but our record is inserted. We can try one more record also. Peter England and 999 99123 Delhi. So I am adding one more record under same. Now verify. Now one of four records. You can see it has been added. Peter England 999 123 Delhi. And if required, we can also add one more record, and this one of four will change to one of five. Student test, and this one will be 893, and this one will be Kolkata. So I'm just doing final test, and I'm going to insert, and object is inserted, and earlier one of four, after refreshing one of five. See, one of five records, and what I have inserted, test 893 Calcutta. So this is how we need to add these students into MongoDB using microservices. And if you